Our grains come in these big sacks, and we need a way of getting these big sacks efficiently milled. Currently, we've got nothing in the mill, so I can actually demonstrate everything that we've done in order to make it possible to mill at volume. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to swap out this freshly milled batch of sifted Rouge de Bordeaux. So this is actually milled, I think, this morning? So this is milled yesterday in the mill. We're now running it basically daily. And this is the flour that we grew in a 40-acre field this year. In order to make space to mill more, I've got to swap this out. And we're going to do more Rouge Bordeaux, which is conveniently the grain that I have in this big crate here called a buckhorn container. I'll tell you a little bit more about it because it is really related to this entire upgrade of the mill. So let me get a new container really quick and a cover from the loud space. I'll be right back. So when you're making sifted flour, this is where most of the flour goes, by 85%. I can keep these buckets going because they still have a lot of space to collect the various middlings of the Rouge Bordeaux. Making sure the liner's correct. I don't need anything here because this is my area of milling whole wheat, so you can apply one of these bigger drums under this the mill itself and mill whole wheat flour, but that's not what we're doing at the moment. Once I get the mill going, I'll also label this one. So, next step, I need to feed the mill. If you look on the mirror up there, you can see that the mill is empty. There's no grains here. And the biggest improvement that we've made in our lives very recently was the addition of this grain elevator and the buckhorn container. So first I'm going to unblock the grain elevator so I can accept grains. It has a nice big hopper here. I'm also going to unblock where the grains actually feed, and I'm going to turn this guy on. Next, I'm going to turn the actual mill itself on, along with the sifting box that I've got over there. It's now running. And now, so up until this point, we've been loading the mill kind of precariously on a ladder. And the way the dance goes is somebody goes on the ladder, takes a 50-pound bag of flour, dumps it in the mill, and then proceeds. Needs to do that like 4 times to load the mill. The problem with 50-pound bags and ladders is that 50-pound bags are already hard enough to lift. Now be on a ladder lifting and rotating, and we just saw this as like, yes, we have a beautiful mill, but if somebody breaks a leg, it's kind of not worth it ever. So we thought this was a really important investment to make in the grain elevator. So now that the mill is on, I still haven't turned on the auger, which is the thing that feeds the mill. I'm first going to actually fill up the mill. So in order to do that, I can just dump grain right in here. And that grain is going to shoot into the mill now. I have a line drawn, which I need to definitely make better, that tells me where 4 bags worth of grain would be in the mill. And so I can see it in the mirror. And I can kind of speed up the process a little bit. Now what's neat is I can do the opposite. I can also slow down the process. So once I get the mill filled, I can slow this to a trickle. I can match how much grain is going into the mill as what's going through the mill, which means I can continuously feed my mill. Because this holds that entire sack of grains that we started this clip with. It's 1 ton of grains. And the field that we grew of Rouge Bordeaux, well, that's a lot of those sacks that we have to get through. So every time we get one, we can use our new pallet stacker to feed this container, and then this container can feed the mill. It's really a huge advancement for us. Okay, I'm gonna slow the rate now, and I'm gonna turn on the auger. So now the mill's getting fed, and that means that I'm gonna start manipulating the stone where I need it. So this is about where our setting has been. This wheel controls how close together the stones are. And so now I've set it to where our current mill rate is for the Rouge Bordeaux. That gives us the finest possible flour coming out the end of the sifter. Now my sifter is open, my whole wheat chute is closed, and the other major improvement in the room, which is no joke, is this air cleaner that we have in the back. This is made by Industrial Made, and it's basically cleans fresh air and blows it that way, and it's taking up all of the particles that the mill is basically exhausting and purifying the air. So it's made a huge difference since we've installed it. Some people on our team are more sensitive to particulates. Logan, who's been with us for a long time, is one of them. He actually could not be in this room when the mill was on without a mask because he would just sneeze and cough the whole time. Now it's no big deal for him. He can be in this room with no issues. Now, our team sometimes still masks up during the milling process, but we're still getting used to this air cleaner and seeing how much is it really doing. It seems like it's doing a lot for us right now. So the flour's coming out this way. At this point, I can probably get the first bits. It takes a while for it to start coming out of the sifter, but I'll grab some for you. So this is freshly milled Rouge de Bordeaux, and you can see that it's super fine. It actually fills all the little lines in my skin, and there's no grittiness whatsoever. You can tell that, you know, the flour's about as fine as you can get it, which we're really happy with. What's gonna happen now is that this container will fill up over the course of about an hour, and every so often we have to walk by and just give it a kick so that the flour that's being milled settles. I can label this container that's done as freshly milled. It's now going on to its packaging stage. And what I can do is now keep feeding the mill. So you can see that there's grain coming into the mill at a particular rate, and there's grain coming out. And if I'm smart about it, I can get just enough grain going into the mill so that I never run out of grain in the hopper, but I don't overflow the mill. And that means I don't have to really worry about the feed part of the mill while I'm working, and I just have to worry about removing the bucket and putting a new one in when this bin fills up. So that's kind of the improvements we've made to the mill, and as you can see, we're getting closer to being able to ship flour. This allows us to mill for hours and hours and hours without really having to manually unload buckets. The thing about it is we want to ship flour at a decently affordable rate, but we still want to benefit from that in some way, and so we've got to make sure that we don't need somebody to just babysit constantly. So that's what we've been working on. We've made a lot of progress. Flour, water, salt, sourdough starter. With that set of resources, alchemy transpired. We're making croissant dough. It stretches a little so you can see that the gluten's developed. To hand laminate, press down and out. I'm gonna open up fully to 5, place another chocolate on the other side, and those are my pain au chocolat. Outside end into the middle, and I'm left with this braided twist. You want to avoid ones that are too dense. Also probably just means you didn't proof long enough. Let's go over what it's like to build a bakery from one person to many.
At our largest facility, it's probably 30 people, but across the organization, it's around 50.
At the end of the day, that's more of a question of what kind of culture have you built so far and how many people are actually invested into that mission.
There's ways to scale and pick equipment that does not compromise quality, but just as easily you could scale your way into equipment that does nothing but compromise quality.
As long as you can keep the integrity of the process intact and you're not prone to compromise for the machinery that you own.
I'm offering something that's got inherent value in it.
Like when they come up and they're like, wow, your bread is so beautiful. It's like, yeah, I scored that. The thing that you're wowed by, I did it.
Your products should be the stars of building demand over time. Ingredients are more powerful and less expensive than advertisements. You should use them.